Hey everybody, Tony of ETO Timeshare Simplified. Do you want to know how to get the trades you want and stay at the best resorts and actually get value out of your timeshare? Well, I'm going to tell you, because when I first got mine, it stunk, to say the least. I don't know what the proper word is for it, but it was not good. And I'm just trying to, my mission is to help timeshare owners to get value out of what they own, because they are like a pain in the butt to use. A lot of people buy them, things in their life change, they don't have the money for maintenance fees. A lot of people can't get where they actually want to go and get trades through Interval and RCI, and I felt the same way when I first bought mine. So my mission now that I'm out of the industry is to help timeshare owners to get exactly what they want. So I don't know if you heard my story, but if you listen to the end of my story and you do what the owner of the exchange company taught me, you can go to any timeshare you want, almost literally any time. I mean, obviously maybe not a week before New Year's in New York or whatever, but for the most part, you can get what you want. So I dropped out of college. I didn't have any money, and I had like a mean stepfather growing up. He was always like, "You're a loser, and you'll never own your own house," and all this and that. And so I saw the look on his face when I moved back and for 2 weeks, and I just took off. And I moved to Vegas in an old pickup truck my uncle gave me. We had a little racquetball guy on the front, and I had $300. And I moved to Vegas, and I didn't really know anybody, and I did like a couple little jobs, but then I went on this job interview, and the guy's like, "Well, we sell timeshares." And I was like, "Well, what the heck's that?" And he's like, "Well, most people can't afford to travel." And I was thinking of my mom. We only took one trip when I was younger. It was when I was 15, and we went up the Oregon coast, and it was awesome. We got to see the seals in Oregon and all this and whatnot. But he's like, so people can't afford, so they buy this, and then they can go on vacation like once a year or twice a year. And I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And then he's like, either that or people spend money in hotels, and this is cheaper, and they get a nicer room. And so after 10 years is their break even, and then for the rest of their lives they can use this thing, but then they stay in condos. And I was like, "Oh, that makes sense." He's like, either that or people work too much and they have to force themselves to go, so they buy it so it makes them go on vacation, because everybody works so hard. And that all made sense. So I took a job in it, and like my first month I made like $6,000 or something. Then I just moved there with like $300, and I thought I was rich. I thought I hit the lotto, and I was like, "Oh, this is sweet." And then they were having an employee special where you could buy a week at the Jockey Club, which is across from Polo Towers where I was working. And the guy's like, the manager, he sat down with me. He's like, "Look, buy this." He's like, "If you own what you sell," he's like, "you'll sell more of it." He's like, "Stay in this business. You'll make six figures your whole life, and you can go tell your stepdad that you know what." And I was like, "Oh, that sounds good." So I was like, "Where did I sign the paperwork?" And I couldn't sign that thing fast enough just to prove him wrong. So then I started in the industry, and then I bought it, and I was doing good. I was telling people, you can go here and there, and you can go to Hawaii when you want, and you can go to, Marriott, Newport Beach, and Tahoe, and then when my paperwork got done, and I was like, "All right, Big Daddy's got some money, I'm going on vacation." And I would call up, I'd be like, "Hey, I want to go to Tahoe for 4th of July, not available. Hey, I want to go to the Marriott Newport Beach in the summer, not available. Hey, I want to go to Hawaii in September, not available." And every time I would call and ask to go somewhere. Now, granted, I was younger, so I didn't really plan that far ahead. I planned like 2 months ahead or whatever. But I mean, I paid all this money for it, or what I seemed like a lot of money to me. It was only like $6,000 or something on the employee special. But so I bought it, and this damn thing wouldn't work. And then I would get people on the tour when I was trying to sell them, and they're like, "Well, these things don't work. I heard they don't work." And I was like, "Yeah, that thing doesn't work." So I quit. After a while, I quit. I couldn't sell it if it didn't really work, and because I just didn't feel good about it. And then I went to work for a timeshare resale company, and they did resale and rentals. Sorry about that. I'm trying to walk around this property, but these waterfalls are really loud. It's at the Gaylord Opryland Hotel. And the only reason I would ever stay in a hotel is because I'm Marriott Titanium because of my rental company. But I digress. I usually stay in timeshares because I like to have the kitchen and all that where my wife and I can cook. But anyway, so okay, so I quit and then I went to work for this timeshare resale company. And people all day long were like, this thing stinks, I can't use it, I want to get out of it. And then I would charge them like $500 and we were supposed to rent it out or do that. Well, after a while I was like, well, where do you guys rent them out at? And they're like, we have an ad in the paper. And then I saw the ad in the paper and I was like, one ad on some obscure newspaper that nobody was ever gonna see. And then but I did meet like a few people on the phone. They're like, oh yeah, I rented it. One lady like rented it for the Olympics for like $6,000 I talked to. And a couple of them have rented it for New Year's or whatever. But so I was like, oh, well, at least you can rent it out. And that kind of works. And so, but anyways, I got out of that. And then I went to work, started a landscaping company, yada, yada, yada. And then like 2-3 years later, I moved back to Las Vegas and I was bartending. And then I met this beautiful girl, who's my wife. And I was like, dang, I probably got to get my stuff together because this girl's beautiful. And then this guy I had worked with back in 2001 had came in and he's like, what are you doing working here, dude? I was bartending and he's like, no, he's like, come work for me, because he remembered how good I was. He's like, come work for me, I work with the owners. And I was like, I'm not selling that stupid thing that I can never use, that I've been paying on, and the thing doesn't even work. And he's like, no, come. He's like, this one's a point system, it's a lot easier to use, the people already bought it, so all you need to do is upgrade them, and it's easier, and a lot of them like it. And I was like, all right, well, I need to make more money anyway. So I went back in, and then like 80% of people loved it. They were like going everywhere, doing everything, taking their families everywhere. And then 20% of people were like me. They're like, this thing stinks, I can't ever use it, the maintenance fee's too high, I can't ever get in, what am I gonna do with this for my kids, they don't want it, and all this stuff. And then so I went to the timeshare convention because I like to learn. I'm a big personal development, Tony Robbins kind of guy. So I went to this timeshare convention with my buddy Peter, and we met Corey Phelps. He's like the executive of the San Francisco Exchange. So I met Corey Phelps. He was the owner of the San Francisco Exchange. And I was like, Corey, how come nobody can ever use these damn things anywhere? And he's like, you can. He's like, you just can't use it the way people think. You can't just call up and go, oh, hey, I want to go to Hawaii next month. He's like, because timeshare, he's like, the people own the timeshare. So the only time a room becomes available at one of these resorts is if somebody gives up their week there. So if you want to go to Hawaii, somebody at the Marriott has to give up their week there for you to get that. He's like, so the likelihood of the exact week you want being available at the exact time of year at the exact resort you want, he's like, it's like, trying to find something in the ocean. He's like, he's like, you can, I mean, if you're going like off season or different places, but any of the good stuff, your Marriotts, your Four Seasons, your Westins, your Disney properties, your Hilton properties, they're not going to be just chilling online for the time you happen to call up and make your trip. And I was like, oh, but I paid all this money. I should just be able to call up and go when I want. And he's like, ideally, but it does not work like that. And I was like, well, how do you do it? And he's like, the first rule to trading that a lot of people miss is trading's like baseball cards. So you have, you have to give up your week to get that week. So you have to have something good to get them, to get what you want. So, he's like, you can't trade a Hyundai for a Mercedes. And a lot of people don't know that. And that's the reason RCI, they got sued for $200 million or some crazy number, because people thought their Red Week in Branson, Missouri would trade for a Red Week in Hawaii at a Disney resort because they're both red, and they did not. But they didn't tell people that for 20 years. They just said, oh, you're on the search list, and then never get them anything. So they actually got sued finally, and then now if you deposit your week with RCI, they rank your week on a scale from 15 or 10 to 60s, I think the top. And then so if you give them Branson, Missouri, your week's worth 15 points. If you want to trade to the Disney Resort in Hawaii at the prime time, it's 60 points. So it would take 4 of your weeks to even get that week. So then sometimes you could get like 2 or 3 weeks out of your 1 week. But for, if you want to go to the good ones, yours isn't strong enough. And they never told you that for like 20 years. And that's why I think a lot of people are frustrated with their timeshare, and maybe you're frustrated with it, is you can't get where you want to go. Okay, so he said the first rule to trading is have something good to give them. So most likely if you bought this timeshare, you bought it somewhere, fairly good. They only put them in good places, okay? So find the best week you have access to, and you can go, he's like, if you go on the website, like Interval's website, it says the trading demand index. So if you pull up your resort on Interval and you go to the trading demand index on the right side, you just click on it. He's like, those boxes, he's like, those are what rank your week. And you want to get your box, so to speak, your week that's farthest to the right. And I was like, oh, I thought that thing was for the weather. Like it told you the best time of the year to go for your weather. He's like, no. He's like, we rank your week because the way trading works, if you trade up Hawaii, then somebody else trades, Florida Keys. Then somebody else trades another Hawaii. Then somebody trades Las Vegas for New Year's. And he's like, exchange companies make $180 or $200 now every time something happens. So your one trade spawns like 40 trades. So they make like $8,000 or $10,000 off your week. Where if you trade in Mexico, Cabo, well, they have 1 million of those weeks, so nobody really trades for them. And that's how they sell them as getaway weeks for $200, $300, $400, $500. That's where all those getaway weeks come from. Those are weeks people traded in that they couldn't get rid of. So, they're a company, they're in business to make money. So who are you going to think they're going to give priority to? The guy who's making them $8,000 or the person in Mexico is going to make them $500? So it's just how it works. So he's like, so first thing you do, find the resort you own on Interval and find the highest ranking weeks that you have access to. Now, if you bought a gold season at your place and there's a platinum season, or you bought a silver season, like one of my Marriott weeks is a gold week, and there's only really one good week to trade out of there. So I have to get that week every year, and it changes year by year. So you got to go on that thing, and it's color coded. It's pretty easy to read. But at the bottom, there's a scale, 0 to 150, and that's the scale they're ranking your week at. So that's why if you get the bar that's closest to the right, that'll give you, that just means it's the best, so to speak. Okay, so go on there, find out what the best week you have access to. Usually, if you bought, usually your resort, you kind of know, like if you bought Orlando, it's 4th of July and Christmas. And not every week in the summer. And even though you own a platinum season, not all platinum season weeks are good. So you really got to use that chart. Okay, so like say you go on that chart and you own Orlando and the 4th of July week is the best. You call exactly a year before or 13 months, whatever the first day is, you call and you book Orlando for that next day, okay? And then immediately call and deposit it with Interval or RCI or whoever you're using. They all work the same. And then, so you call, book that week. Now you can go where you want to go. Now you have a Mercedes, so to speak. Now you have a Babe Ruth baseball card. So you call and you got that week. So, and if you deposit it immediately, they give you the highest value you can get, okay? If you do a request first where you wait to find out what you're gonna get before you give it to them, it actually loses your trading power, okay? So the first thing you wanna do is book that week, give it to them immediately, and that'll give you your best trading power, okay? And now you can go where you wanna go. Okay, now here's the second part of trading. And this is the biggest and most important, so listen to this part. He's like, you will never, not never, but 99% of the time, ever get what you want by going online and saying, hey, what's available in Hawaii 6 months from now? What's available in Hawaii next year? If you do that, you will never, or call on the phone and say, hey, I'm looking to go to Maui in December next year. And they're like, no, you're not. And then, or like, I want to go to Hawaii or the Marriott Newport Beach this summer. It's never never 99% of the time ever going to be available right when you call. Because when those weeks do come available, they go over to whoever's on the waiting list first. Okay? Now, doesn't mean you can't get it, but it means you can't get it that way by just calling up and getting what you want. So, what you got to do is put in a request. And what a request is it means the computer is going to search 24 hours a day for what you want. All right? And then it has a 97% success rate. And 80% of the time, obviously the statistics change from year to year, but it's a rough estimate. 80% of the time, you will get what you want within 2 to 3 weeks. Okay? So it's not perfect. You're not going to call up and get it when you want, but you'll actually get it. So let's say your family wants to go to Hawaii in December, and you own your Orlando. Well, I'm a huge Marriott fan. So you got Marriott in Orlando. Okay, so you called this summer and booked. So it's 2020. You call and book summer for 2021 for the 4th of July, because that's the only good week. And then immediately deposit that with Interval or RCI, whatever. Now you can go where you want to go. Then when you call up and they go, oh, it's not available, there's no weeks in Hawaii in December, you say, oh, that's fine, just place a request for me. Waterfall's going off again. This place is sweet. He's like, so now you place a request, okay? And what that means is the computer is going to search 24 hours a day for what you want. And when you place a request, just try to be as broad as you can on any one of the parameters, all right? So if you only want to go to one island in Maui, we'll say, hey, I don't care if I stay at the Marriott in Maui, the Westin in Maui, or the Sheraton in Maui, and I'll go anytime between June and July, okay? The broader you can be on any one of those parameters, the faster you'll get what you want, okay? So, and if you only want to stay at one place, like at one certain time, then only pick that, but it might take a little bit longer to get your week. So yeah, and then, so that works the same wherever you're going, whether you want to go to Hawaii, whether you want to get New Year's in New York, always call, place a request, and you can do it online now. Once you deposit your week with Interval, just go in your My Units tab, and I'll do another video walking you through it. I just wanted to do a quick video before I leave. It has such a cool background. Look at this place, it's amazing. So, so you go into My Units, and right next to it, I'll say place a request. And you can actually pick up to 48 different resorts, and you can pick up to, however, 6 month, 8 month time frame. So you just go place a request, and then I try to stick with just the 5-star ones, because they're obviously a lot nicer. The gold crown or whatever they call them, the little symbol on it will tell you. And then you say, hey, well, I don't care. And then you put the Marriott there, the Marriott other tower, the Westin, the Sheraton, the Hilton, and then say, I'll go anytime between June and July. Now, if you can only go at a certain time, you're like, well, my kids have soccer, and then they got to go back to school, and this and that. You say, well, I can only go between July 15th and August 10th. Well, just put that, and then just try to pick more resorts. And the more you pick at anything, the faster you'll get what you want. If you want to just say, I only want to stay at the Marriott Maui Ocean Club, Tower, Napali, and I can only go in that week, it might take you a while to get it, and you might not get it, but you probably will, because people cancel things all the time. A lot of people book it like a year in advance, and they end up canceling. I think it's like 25 or 28, 30% reservations are canceled at any system. Okay, so I'll do another video on it. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'll take you over. I'll do stuff on renting a timeshare and all that. And let us know if you have any questions. You can go to my company, timesharesimplified.com. We're starting a new concierge program where we will take care of all your timeshare for you. We'll let you know when your anniversary dates are. We'll let you know how to make the trade. We'll do the trades for you so you actually get what you want. My team will do the whole process for you. And then you have a consultation with me. And then I'll strategize your yearly plan, and then we'll put that plan in place and work it for you. And you can get thousands and thousands more dollars in value out of it. So hope that helped. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments, and take care. God bless.